Rick Karlin's new LGBTQ bars book, Last Call, South Florida, October 15th release. Rattling Good Yarns Press will unveil Last Call, South Florida, a history of 1,001 LGBTQ-friendly taverns, hangouts, and haunts on October 15th. This comprehensive volume, penned by historian Fred Fejes and entertainment journalist Rick Karlin, transcends the sparkle of South Florida's nightlife to illuminate the real lives behind the bar scene. It chronicles the journey of investors, entertainers, bartenders, and patrons who shaped the vibrant queer community, seeking refuge and camaraderie in a variety of establishments. The authors meticulously explored the LGBTQ bar culture, spanning from Palm Beach to Miami-Dade, including Key West. Their research, which delves into the era of rum runners during Prohibition to present-day venues, involved interviewing numerous individuals and scouring archives for hidden gems of history. The result is a captivating coffee table book that marries entertainment with informative narratives. Rick Karlin, who has over 40 years of experience in journalism, joins us today as an anchor on Queer News Tonight to shed light on this significant creation. Known for his previous work, Last Call Chicago, Karlin's contributions to the queer community have earned him induction into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. He now resides in Fort Lauderdale with his husband, poet and journalist Gregg Shapiro with two T's, with two G's, excuse me. If you add two T's, it's fine. And their dog, Miss Coco, who is just simply adorable. And we have Rick Karlin with us in studio today. Rick, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
You did this incredible table book for Chicago, right?
Right.
And then, so was that the inspiration to do it in your hometown area as well?
Right. Well, when I did the Chicago book, I was living in Chicago, and I thought somebody needs to document all these bars because so much of our history happened in the bars.
Of course.
Because, especially for younger people, they don't understand. There were no community centers.
Right. There was no grinder.
There was no grinder. There were no LGBT meetup groups. There were nothing.
No shows on TV.
No shows on TV. And the only place you could go to meet people like yourself were the bars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where we met. And so much of our history started there. During the AIDS crisis, most community organizations started in the bars with people talking about we need to do something.
Yeah.
So they founded community groups and they sketched out the ideas on bar napkins. And then they went and started, places like in Chicago, the Howard Brown Clinic, or the Gay Men's Health Crisis in New York, things like that. And that's where so much of our history is.
Yeah, so how did you get all this data? This is a lot of data to pick up. You said from Prohibition to now, and you didn't just say Fort Lauderdale.
A lot of years.
Well, it's a lot of years, but he also didn't say just Fort Lauderdale, right? You are even panning Key West, when it used to be gay, Miami, and stuff like that. So,
well, what I did for Chicago, we went from before Prohibition to the speakeasies and things. But when I came here and I came up with the idea, the first thing I knew is I worked with the man who wrote the definitive history of Chicago's LGBT community before Stonewall in Chicago. So I needed somebody to do that. I knew I could find the bar stuff. So I was reading the old SFGN, South Florida Gay News, and there was an article that Fred Fejes, a professor, was doing a lecture on the history of gay bars in South Florida.
So you didn't know him before this?
Didn't know him.
You didn't know him before you saw this article?
No.
Okay.
But I had been thinking about doing a version of the book down here. So I went to it. I listened to his lecture. I said, this is somebody I can work with. He knows what we're going about. So I brought my Chicago book, showed it to him. I said, I want to do something like this for South Florida. He looked at it. He's like, yes, right away. We clicked right away. We were like, yes. We met a week later. We started working on it, and we divided and conquered. He knew the history part. I had the setup to do the research on the bars. So he was, and we right away decided we needed to divide it by counties.
Okay.
Because Palm Beach County's development was very different than Miami's development, or Key West or Broward. So we divided it by counties. And what I did is I went to Stonewall Museum and Archives. And the first thing I did was go through the old Dameron Bar Guide.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard of that in a bit.
Yes. And I am a queen that you give me a spreadsheet and a database, and I am a happy camper putting things together.
That's true.
With your dog on your lap. Happy as hell.
I love to make order out of chaos. And so,
Hence Gregg.
yes,
Okay,
that's why I'm married to that man.
Got it. Okay.
That's why our marriage has lasted.
32 years.
Yes, 32 years
Mazel
next
tov.
month.
Yes.
And what I did is I went through the bar guides and started with the very earliest one. The very earliest one was about this big, and it was only about that thick, from 84.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, 74.
Okay.
And you go through it, and it's like, there's like two for Florida, I think, or 3 bars in Florida. And you go through it, and then each year it got bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So I would create this database. Then after I had the database, so I knew, approximately what years the bars were open, because they'd stop appearing in the Dameron Guide. And then I would go and I would pull all the newspapers for South Florida. And I would go through the newspapers and look at the ads to see what kind of events were going on. So I would write
And by
down
newspapers, you mean LGBTQ publications,
yeah, the
right?
LGBTQ publications.
Yeah, right.
That they,
GWN,
Yeah.
right?
right. Yeah, so I had, Hotspots, which before it was Hotspots, it was Hot
David.
Shots.
There was
Yeah,
David.
There was
too.
David.
411.
What?
411 was
411. There were the Passport. There were all sorts of things going on. And I would go through them, and there were some that were only like around for like a year. Some of them only printed 1 copy.
The ads you found were invaluable.
The ads were invaluable, because you got more from the ads. And the other thing was reading, every one of them had a gossip column. It was usually some drag queen done up as an old lady. Aunt Tilly says.
Yes.
And she was basically talking what went on in the bar.
Yeah.
So that's where I got a lot of the information about what the bar was like.
Yeah.
How long did it take you total?
Total, it took me about 3 years.
Wow.
Going through
That's a long
and
time.
accumulating the information.
Okay.
And
And
you've
like,
got all the lesbian bars in there too, right?
Yes. And then I also started interviewing people.
Oh, wonderful.
And so I would, I would find people that I knew had been down here for a while, and I would call them up, and I interviewed like Nikki Adams
I love Nikki Adams.
and Electra.
Yes.
Yeah.
I tried.
Icons, yes.
Yes, I tried interviewing Tiffany Arriagas.
Yes.
But girl, you never returned my phone call.
Oh, she's busy.
We love
Tiffany,
Tiffany.
She's
We love
busy. She's busy.
4
She's saving the
emails and
world.
3 phone calls. She never returned one. But
You could
anyway,
have just asked me. I would have gotten you. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
but anyway, so if she's not in the book, that's why. But I
you looked at you
Edison
saw after
Farrow,
icons.
who was an
Yeah.
old, not old. I'm sorry, he's not old.
Edison was,
Gorgeous.
he had a lot with the
He
the
did a
martini
lot of
party and
early
whatnot.
days,
lot of
Martini party.
South
parties
Beach in the 80s.
in the 80s and 90s. Party.
Well, I don't know if he
promoter.
was in the 80s, but he.
The 90s. I
Not
think
the
the
80s,
very
not the
tail
80s.
end of the 80s,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Well, what
he
I
even
Yeah.
blurbed the book.
He blurbed my book.
Oh, I love
and so did
that.
Yes.
Dr. Capo Jr.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Julio
love that.
Capo.
did
No, what I love about your book is, I mean, I love everything about your book. Honestly,
Thank
it's
you.
it's a great thing. Our history is trying to be erased everywhere we go,
Right.
Rick,
Right.
right? And you're not letting that happen by putting it in there, right?
Right.
Exactly.
It's in print for all to see. No, it didn't happen. Yes, it did, bitch. You
Yeah.
know. But what I love about it is that I love the ads because it really brings that nostalgia about it all,
Yeah.
right? But it's also from the place of a bartender, of a promoter.
Right.
I was a door person for lesbian bars. Cindy
I was a
worked at them
bouncer.
as well.
Yes.
Cindy was the bouncer.
Back in the 80s.
Yes.
Okay,
Louise,
she was tough.
bouncer.
No, but
Yes.
she still
She was
is
tall-
tough.
she
She
was
still is
taller
tough.
then.
She was taller than
I was
she's tough.
taller then, actually.
Yes.
You know.
And that was the thing. I talked to bar owners. I talked to bar employees. I talked to bartenders. I talked to the customers, entertainers, everybody. It was, I got a little bit of story. And, some person gave me another person's contact information.
Yeah.
And I would interview them.
Awesome.
And we got tons of stories. There were so many stories that we had to stop on the Marlin Beach Hotel. It's
it was too
two
much.
pages,
Wow.
and we just said, okay, we have to stop this.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
used to do
yeah.
tea dances out in
Oh,
the,
yes.
in the road, right at the Marlin Hotel.
At the Marlin.
Major tea dances with Jody McDonald and Arnie
Yeah.
Smith.
Yes.
Oh my
it was
God.
Back in the 80s,
crazy.
man.
I
This
love
is
it.
My
how are you
idea is,
How are you and Fred promoting the book?
well, one of the ways we're promoting it is that on the 15th, we're doing the book release party at Hunter's.
Okay.
So we'll have
place.
copies there
Yes.
that people can buy them. And
And
we'll be
Hunters
able
is in
to-
the book as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
of
Okay.
course.
Okay.
Oh, but
Hunters,
Of course, I'm like-
Hunters has a distinction of being in both the Chicago book and
oh, wow.
this book. And so we're doing the release party there 6 to 8 o'clock on the 15th. And they'll be serving Vinny's going to be serving his cold brew martinis.
Okay.
And we'll be signing the books and selling the books.
Selling the books.
And
Are there other events?
there's also going to be an event at Stonewall in December.
Fantastic.
And I'm setting things up with some of the social groups. I've got a call into Compass, trying to get something set up in
Love
Palm
Compass.
Beach,
They're great.
Wonderful.
trying to get
The
some
Pride
things
Center.
set up in Key
Miami
West.
Beach.
Yes.
I'm going down to Miami Beach tomorrow to meet with the LGBT committee and talk with them.
Oh,
Meet
yeah.
up Tuesday.
Yes.
That's
Well,
Steve Atkins and that guy.
Yes.
And you
Dale
need to
and
go
I
to
know
Key
about
West
that
as well.
guy.
Yes.
You need
yes.
to go to Key
We have a
West as
history.
well and go on over to the Aquaplex over there with John
Right.
Garrett, and he'll let you have it. John,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
sending Rick over, all right?
Okay.
So question, Rick. So if somebody wants to buy the book
Yes.
and they can't go to any of these events,
It's available on Amazon,
Amazon.com.
Fantastic.
and
Perfect.
barnesandnoble.com, any of your online
And the
booksellers.
publisher.
Yeah.
And through the publisher, Rattling Good Yarns Press. And I don't know if they are sending it out without shipping charges. They were for a while, but
Okay.
that was a little deal they were offering. But I have to tell you that at the first thing I did for it, there's an ad right on the front here for the Hayloft. And the very first thing, the guy comes up to me and goes, I was a go-go dancer there. And that's a drawing of me.
What?
Yes.
How?
So that was
world.
so cool.
Oh my God, how
He
incredible.
was 60, he's like 68 now.
Right.
You know, and this looks like
It
an
happens.
18-year-old.
I love
So it was
that.
great.
Awesome.
I love that.
Congratulations.
Thank
Rick,
you.
Rick, honestly, this is so important, especially how, just what we're going through right now, an election year, our history being erased at all
Right.
corners. I'm constantly telling everyone that'll listen that we've got to share our LGBTQ plus stories with those that come after us, right? So they
Yes,
can know what we
absolutely.
went through, I mean,
Right.
because a lot of these places were LGBTQ plus friendly because they couldn't be just a gay bar,
Right.
Right.
under the politics of it all,
Right.
know? So
Exactly.
you're able to shine light on that like nobody else has, and I'm just all for it. I love
Well,
it.
and one of the things I want to say is that it is my hope that you have to know the city to do it. This one was a little bit harder for me than Chicago because I was born and raised in Chicago. I was not born and raised here. So, for example, I didn't know that Lejeune in Miami had another name.
40
Yeah.
seconds.
It's so confusing.
So those were some things I had to
Exactly.
learn while I
Very
was
confusing.
doing it.
Yeah.
But my hope is that people from other cities pick up the mantle, and there's a last call St. Louis and a last
Right.
call
Yeah,
Denver.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely right.
And-
Franchise the
Franchise the thing, and really, I will help you set up your database
Yeah,
if you
you've
want
got
to
the
do
spreadsheet
that.
already
Yeah.
ready.
I've got the
Just
fill in the
spreadsheet
blank.
set up.
official call.
Yeah.
It's an official
Yeah.
call.
And
to action.
again, what a
Yeah.
great way to show our history to the
Because that's
following
where it
folks.
is.
Like,
Yeah.
that's-
The bars are.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Hold the book up one more time, Rick. Please do me a favor. Last Call South Florida. So that's going to be it. Get it on Amazon or go to Hunters for the event or go to any one of the other ones. Or you can follow Rick Karlin on social media and find out where else he's going to be peddling the book and signing it for you and taking a
Right.
picture and everything, okay?
With
And there
Please, I
might,
have a case. I have 100 copies sitting in my living room, so we need to get rid of them.
gonna-
Yeah,
yes,
because
for
his
sure.
wife is not
I'll
happy.
take one.
for sure. You already sold 3 right here.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you, Rick. And you're going to stay on the show with us to
Yes.
help opinionate
Yes.
the rest of our stuff here, all
Me
right?
with an opinion?
Who
No.
knew?
Yes.